innovation and trends. But maybe my last question specifically is around, I'd like to hear what your institutions are working on to fulfill these evolving needs in the market. So maybe Ridoy, if you can share.
Sure. So I think I talked about kind of the optimization and sort of innovation buckets, but I think for us, it's, typically when we look at our kind of growth agenda for the fall, it's really about new corridors and endpoints, customer experience, and then sort of experimentation. So in terms of growth, it's really enabling the next set of corridors with, the next partner we're going to work with. And you can ask, Deepan how many times I'm calling him and Mary about, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you improve the payout here? What's the endpoint I can do here? Can you do third party? So that's the growth agenda. On the customer experience front, it's things like I mentioned, which is incorporating some of these newer sort of capabilities into our mix. So for example, we're going to have Pay Now UPI riding alongside our DBS Remit to India service and see how that plays out. And then maybe the two converge at some stage. Or we enable the same endpoint and the value proposition is the same. Then it's things like, for example, I referred to like Partior, which could actually be a very interesting use case for remittances. So using this closed loop blockchain-based solution with other banks on the node, assuming they cover a large proportion of our payees, perhaps we incorporate that into our journey and sort of doing some experimentation. Other parts, things like incorporating AI and ML into our journey. So because we have all this data and Remit sits within a broader suite of sort of digital banking apps, within our digital banking app, we're going to use AI and ML to kind of engage our customers better, send them nudges when the salary is credited, monitor their activity with us versus, say, another fintech who we bank, who they might use for cross-border remittances, but how can we then kind of nudge them gently to come and use our product? So there's a number of things on our agenda.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot going on at DBS in terms of how you're addressing those specific needs. And I'll leave Zenon to the last.
That's right.
That's right. We'll keep Zenon to the last, but maybe Deepan, you would like to add a little bit in terms of what Ridoy had mentioned.
Sure. No, thanks for that. Obviously, there's the BAU improvements, right? Even if you have a Formula One car, it can always be made quicker, lighter, more agile, et cetera, right? So we continue to invest in that network so that our clients get that benefit, right? But really, from an innovation perspective, I just kind of bring out 2 points, right? One is having a unified solution. This is the number one ask I would hear from a bank or from a fintech client. And what we're able to do is give them one API, they connect to that API, and with that API, they're able to access cross-border payments to multiple geographies around the world, to accounts, to cards, to digital wallets, right? So there's a lot of power in integrating that into one connection point, right? The second area is what I would call perhaps capability extension, right? We have recently acquired and brought into the family several money movement related companies that really complement our offering, right? A couple of examples, Ram mentioned earlier, Currency Cloud, right? So the ability to offer our clients the local currency collection ability, enhanced FX capabilities, right? Whether it's real time or ability to control the margins, et cetera, right? That's quite powerful as a complement to our money movement proposition, right? Yellow Pepper is another good example, right? The ability to offer an integration layer to bank and fintech clients that wish to connect to more than one network, right? And also to help us build alias directories, right? So when you're making a cross-border payment, it doesn't have to be to a bank account number with a SWIFT code or a 16-digit PAN or anything like that. It can just be made to a phone number or an email address, right? And that alias directory then resolves for which bank account, card, or wallet that transfer needs to land in. So I'd call that capability extension and increasingly building these capabilities into the family.
So in very much the sense of, again, I think we kind of mentioned it a little bit, the network of networks, so scaling and spanning a little bit more, but maybe Zenon, is there any thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, I think the thing that comes to mind, kind of tying together a couple of the themes that have come through this, we did, and Visa was a knowledge partner. I'd bring this up anyways if it wasn't at a Visa event, but they were very kindly as a knowledge partner. We reorganized the Pacific Island FinTech Innovation Challenge a couple months ago, where we brought a number of banks from the Pacific Islands, so from Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, Solomon Islands to Singapore, and match them up with fintechs for a few days of trying to find solutions. And as part of that, we did an innovation tour where we met with Visa, Tuns, and a couple of other payment providers. We finished one of the meetings, and this concept of like a single API to access multiple different markets. For one of the participants, I tried to have a conversation with them after the meeting, and I couldn't, because they were just so starry-eyed with the idea that something like this could solve their problems. Because when you talk about correspondent banking, I mean, the Pacific Islands have been hit dramatically by the shrinkage of correspondent banking because of the perceived risk of many of those countries. And so, you know, we think about correspondent banking in these developed markets, but that, for them, it's first of all, it's super expensive because they have to deal with US dollar or Aussie dollar for most of the transactions, and then this lack of a correspondent banking network. So I think it's, you know, we often think about the impact that these products or solutions would have in a market like Singapore, but I think we shouldn't lose sight of the impact that this could have in some of these developing markets as well. Because, you know, for these islanders that are out there, they lose, you know, 5 to 10% of every remittance due to costs, right? And for these banks to be able to have a single solution that provides services and provides access, so, you know, single API and reach, it's life-changing, literally, for the people that are there. So I think that, for me, kind of brings together a lot of the themes that we've talked about on this.